So I had a request from you, eyesarered on Reddit, to go over some of the tools that I use in the shop. I actually did an intro video, and I gave a little tour through the shop, but I wound up rambling a lot, and it was like a 15-minute thing, and I knew nobody was going to watch it. So I scrapped that. But since I've been asked, we'll do that now, and I'll try not to take all night to do it. So we'll start off. Y'all can all meet Olivia. If you've looked at some of my previous build threads, you've seen pictures of her floating around. Olivia was born in April of 2017. Isn't that right? Weren't you? Huh? Weren't you? Yeah. And she's a happy baby. She hangs out in the shop. I've got a little swing for her to chill in, so she hangs out down here a bit. But I was going to leave her upstairs in her playpen, but she got a little grumpy. So, hey, Olivia. All right, so I'll be doing this one-handed. You'll have to pardon any shaky footage. This is my toolbox. I got this in trade for some work I did for a guy here in town several years ago. I wired an S13 with a VVTi 2J in it on Megasquirt, and this was my payment. It's a cheap box, but it served me well. That's a picture of Toby. That's the dog that I grew up with. There's really nothing special in the toolbox. This is important. You got to have a good set of snap ring pliers. Not like the adjustable crappy ones you get at a parts store. I don't splurge on a lot of tools. Snap ring pliers are one of them. This is taps and dies. I need to get better taps and dies because same thing holds true. Crappy taps and dies just don't do a good of a job as more expensive ones. Calipers, extractors. I don't use a lot of torque stuff unless I'm working on the Volvo. But index is real handy. I need to get a nice, I need to get a Howland index as well. Itty bitty, I actually found this at a Walmart. I'm generally not a fan of tools that have a whole lot of interchangeable bits. This stays in a little case, so it's easier to keep up with them. This has a lot of very, very small Phillips and flatheads that I don't use that often, but it's nice to have. Now we get to how most of this is organized. Pliers, vice grips. These are super useful. I believe AVE calls his thumb detecting nut fuckers. What they actually are fence pliers, but these little grippers up at the top, those are great for grabbing onto like skinny metal rods that you need to hang on to tight. This is nice for chipping away at stuff if you need to. A hammer there in a hurry. And the cutters over here, those cut real heavy wire pretty easy. Great tool to have. Pretty much everything in this box, unless I stole it from Dad, is Harbor Freight stuff. A couple of long needle nose pliers. These are useful. Harbor Freight. Side cutters. The other thing, and there's a few things that I spend good money on. One of the other things, and these are actually worn out now, are a good pair of dikes. Or diagonal cutters, excuse me. They're called dikes in the low voltage industry. These are channel lock. These will cut through anything. You can snip a whole harness at one time with these. You can obviously see mine are worn out, so I guess it's time to take these in for a warranty. I'll put them in my pocket now and do that this evening. Not a big fan of adjustable wrenches unless you have to use them. I don't have a lot of big wrenches, so those come in handy from time to time. Of course, oil filter wrenches, stuff for the car. This is nice. This is a little, this is a Molex crimper. This lets you do like the OEM style double crimp electrical connectors and then slide them down into a plastic shell. That way every connector doesn't have a splice on it. These are supposed to only be used for Molex stuff, but I mean they work okay with weather pack and all that too, so these are fairly inexpensive. What's in this drawer? Oh, yeah. Screwdrivers, obviously. I would recommend, rather than have a whole bunch of different screwdrivers, as I have here, I would recommend that you get a good 6-in-1. If you're working on Japanese bikes, it's very important to note that there is a difference between Phillips and JIS Phillips. And if you search for JIS Phillips on Google, you'll find a whole bunch of information about them. But they're different profiles. If you use an SAE Phillips driver on a JIS screw, you'll strip it out. That's why so many old Japanese bikes have stripped out fasteners, because people didn't know. J.I.S. Phillips, and I don't think I don't have one handy, or do I? No, I don't. J.I.S. Phillips have a little dot in them, but if you're working on an older Japanese bike, you're guaranteed that it's going to have J.I.S. Phillips. This drawer, oh, this is a good multi-tool. We bought a bunch of these at work, and I actually went out and got a couple for myself because it is the best 6-in-1 that I've ever come across. I wish I knew what brand it was. I don't, but it's worth its weight in gold. This is also not in there. This is an important tool. This is an impact screwdriver. You put this on a screw. There's bits that go in here. They're heavy duty, and you whack the end with a hammer, and it loosens the stuck Phillips or flathead screw, or whatever fits down in there. Very, very handy tool to have. A must-have for working on old bikes. A couple of 1/2-inch drive ratchets, several 3/8. This one I use most. It's a long handle 3/8 with a flexible head. This is a Tecton ratchet. It was actually on some random white tool van that I flagged down, like 15 bucks. Torque wrench. I've loaned out a 3/8 and a 1/2-inch torque wrench, so I just have this crappy one. Need to get this back. Another 3/8 ratchet. These are just Stanley Walmart things. They've served me just fine. Vice grips. Vice grips need to go up here. I don't have a lot of thread repair stuff. I tend to buy it as I need it. So I've got some M8 helicals here, and this is is that a spark plug repair? It is. It's a spark plug repair kit. One of those things you don't need to use it. Harbor Freight flexi head, 1/4-inch ratchet. Great tool. This is my drawer of crap. Actually, I need to get rid of a lot of this. This is a lot of old Volvo parts stuff that I disassembled and didn't have anywhere to put. It's where I keep my big wrenches that I almost never use. Harbor Freight, long handle stuff. Spare sockets. That drawer's kind of crap. This drawer is all sockets. It is also all either Cobalt or Harbor Freight. A lot of extensions. Use this a lot. This is a 1/4-inch handle, something from AutoZone apparently. Adapters, U-joints. Nothing fancy in here. Just standard metric tool stuff. These actually came with the house when we bought it, so they're good for taking to lose. Only real special thing I have here, my wife drives a 2002 530, BMW 530. It's got a lot of external Torx stuff, so I picked up a set of those. Olivia is mashing on the camera there. There we go. A couple of oil filter sockets, some bigger stuff. I don't really think I have anything beyond like a 30mm for metric or 1 1/8" for standard. What's in here? Oh yeah, wrenches. This is a good one. Years ago, and hang on, I had to swap hands with the baby. I'm getting tired. Years ago, when I was first starting to work on cars, my then girlfriend, now wife, decided she was going to be helpful and got me one of like the Craftsman starter sets. Most of these wrenches here are still from that set. Some of those sockets are, a couple of the ratchets are. I've added to this over the years. I've got a bunch of long arm stuff. This is very nice to have. Notice it's all Harbor Freight. She also bought me these the following year. These are ratcheting wrenches. I like these a lot. I've thought about getting a set of gear wrenches because these have, you'll notice the heads on these are straight. So it's not all, you don't always have a lot of clearance. The gear wrench ones are angled like a regular wrench and are reversible. So I may get those. Zoom in here because I'm holding the kid. These are flare nut wrenches. These are very nice to have for brake lines and stuff so you don't round them off. Don't get used very often, but nice to have when you need them. Those are Craftsman, but Craftsman is pretty much Harbor Freight quality at this point. These are nice. Again, not something you need real often, but the offset box end wrenches, these are good. I actually bought this set because on the Goldwing, if you want to turn the stator, you have to have one of these wrenches to get down in there. But it's also very useful, like if you're working on a strut on a car, or a strut top on the car, you use those as well. Next drawer is my drawer of compliance. This is all my hammers, chisels, saws, grinding stuff, and a specialty Volvo tool back there for depressing cam followers. But yeah, that's where all that stuff is. Next drawer is my grandfather's tools. Some of these I got from him after he passed away. Don't get used all that often. Just kind of nice to have a piece of that memory. That box there is actually really cool, 1940s era porta-cable router that was his. I've got a table saw that I redid, and the vise was actually from his shop too. So kind of nice to have some family continuity in here. But yeah, pipe wrenches are actually good to have, particularly if you're doing like automotive work. If you're taking something apart you don't care about, like a strut, and you don't have a real good way to hold it, you can use a big pipe wrench and grip it. Honestly, I don't remember what's in this drawer. A bunch of random crap. Oh, piston ring compressor. Wow, I'm really good on camera work today. Compression gauge. That's one of the few diagnostic tools I have. That's a must-have. There's some adapters in there too. A couple of air tools, but I don't have an air compressor now. And I don't know. It's been a long time since I opened this up, and it's just an empty bag. So yeah, that's my toolbox. I've been thinking about getting some Milwaukee cordless stuff. I've got several friends who are professional mechanics, and they love them. Excuse me. My Porter cable stuff is actually on its last legs here. The impact is getting real tired, and the drill is starting to smoke. So I might get some Milwaukee stuff to replace that with. All right, so that is. Oh, this cabinet. This is actually like a. There we go. This is actually like a medical cabinet from a hospital, but it was cheap, and I've now repurposed it. Supposedly as a welding cart, but it's just a little bit of everything. This welder I actually got for free from a friend of mine I went to college with. He was moving to California. Hey, Marshall. And was kind of frustrated. He said, I can never get this welder to work right. I can never lay a bead with it. And it was a flux core welder. So I brought it home, read the manual on it because I'm a technical writer. Reading a manual is not a sign of weakness. And I discovered that it was wired incorrectly. There's an electrode in here. You put it in one position if you're using flux core wire, you put it in the other position if you're using gas. It was set up to weld with gas with flux core wire, so that's why it wasn't working. I don't use it very often. I don't really do any serious welding with it because I'm a crap welder. But that's one of the very nice tools that you can have that comes in handy a lot. I use this a lot more for like bolt extraction. Or getting out steering races than anything. Sometimes I'll tack things together and then take it to somebody that actually welds. Back here is I should be doing a better job taking care of this stuff. This is an old Hakko soldering iron. You'd be amazed if you think you're crappy at soldering. Chances are you've just got a crappy soldering iron. I work at a healthcare device manufacturer or a healthcare communications manufacturer. The FDA would get mad if we called it a medical device. But we do a lot of production in-house, and we use nice high-quality Hakko irons in production, and we've got some really nice stuff in engineering. I always thought I was a crappy solderer. Turns out I was just trying to use a crappy, like, $10 Radio Shack iron. A nice soldering iron makes all the difference in the world. These are nice. T-handle Allen wrenches, Harbor Freight. This I'm kind of proud of. See if I can get the whole thing. About 4 feet tall. This is a homemade manometer. This is for balancing carburetors. And the way this works, there are 4 tubes in here. Each one of these comes out to a vacuum line. And you hook these vacuum lines up to your carburetors or your throttle bodies on your bike. And when you start it, this is just ATF and clear vinyl tubing. If there's more vacuum on a particular cylinder, the fluid will raise there to let you know that that carb or that throttle body is out of sync, and then you can adjust it, and it works real well. If I can remember, I'll throw in a little clip here of me using this on my GL1000. It worked awesome. buy these, much smaller versions, but they're, you know, 60, 70, 80 bucks. I think I've got $15 in this all told. See if I can kind of show you here. So I'm going to grab this tube and suck on it a little bit and see if we can see the fluid rise there. Yeah, so that cylinder was just pulling a lot more vacuum, and then the others will kind of drop down, and you can adjust things and level it out a little bit. That's a nice little homemade thing. So I'm going to stop this for a minute. And I just realized I said I didn't want a 15-minute video, and this is pushing 15 minutes already. Wow. Hopefully you're not bored yet. I've got a couple more minutes. So you might have seen this in the background in a few shots. And yes, thank you, Aaron. Aaron put a penis on there when we dropped a motor in. This was actually my first car. This is a 1979 Volvo 244 DL. It used to be slow, then I built a couple turbo motors for it, then it was fast. Then I drove it cross country, then I blew it up. Then I put another motor in it, then I blew that up, and now we're here, and it has a slow motor in it again. It's now got a 2.1 liter motor with a pair of side draft carbs on it. Those aren't Webers, those are actually Chinese copies of Webers. Because if you've met me and if you've known how I work on stuff, I'm cheap. I'm not spending $1,000 on Webers on a car that is not worth anywhere near that. Supposedly these work pretty good. The Swedish guys love them. This project has been languishing for about 3 years now. I literally had to put on a distributor and hook up an ignition system, put a hood on it, a few other things. I mean, it's like 3 days worth of work, but I've just completely lost interest in cars. Eventually I'll come back around to it. Got coilover suspension for it that was built by a buddy that ran on his 760. I've got Pontiac GTA wheels and adapters here that are going to look awesome. But really, bikes are just more fun. A couple flat hoods, or a flat hood over there if you knew Volvos. Yeah. Anyway, so we do a lot of electronics manufacturing at work, which means we have a lot of spare wire. At one point we had like and my kid is pooping. Man, give me time for a diaper. Oh Jesus. Whew. Yeah, I'm gonna have to change her and come back to this video in a second. Alright, so we got Olivia changed. We're back here. Anyway, work had just like huge boxes of scrap wire. And I asked my boss, actually same thing with that soldering iron. We moved work, removed buildings at work, and we were getting rid of a bunch of old stuff. And it was in the pile to be thrown away. I was like, hey, can I have some of this stuff? He said, yeah, take whatever you want. So I pulled it all out of the boxes, straightened it out, spooled it up. A few different colors. Got some 2-conductor in there, got some shielded stuff. It's just nice. It's a nice to have. Behind here is my granddad's table saw. It's an old Craftsman Model 30 with a separate motor, belt drive. Really smooth saw. I don't use it often. I've done some woodworking, and if I remember, I'll put in some pictures here of a few things I've done. Yeah, I don't use it a lot. I may down the road, and I'm kind of starting to realize how much my grandfather's stuff I have. This cabinet was in his shop for years when I was a kid. I always remember this. So I still have some stuff in there of his. So it's a filing cabinet, and it's got a bunch of files in it. There you go. Bunch of files. Mostly got clamps and crap in here, straps, bungees. I was gonna make some brake duct out of that, and I never did. The rest is just kind of wood scraps, and the bottom half isn't full. Big fan of this. These are a couple different grills for the Volvo that I might put on eventually, but those are like 8 inches, or about 6 inches tall. Letters off the front of a Volvo Semi. This was actually, I grew up in Charlotte, and those were on the front of a car, or a truck rather, off of Sunset or Statesville, I can't remember. It was Sunset, for years. And every few months I'd stop in and ask the lady, hey, you know, getting rid of that truck yet? Because it never moved. It was broken down. I really like letters off the front. It took like 2 years. But I finally went in one day and she went, oh, the city condemned it. Oh, just take whatever you want. So I got all excited and ran out there and grabbed those letters. That's a neat thing for me. Dad when he grew up, he was a big Doobie Brothers fan. So, let me actually walk over there. This sign, and I'm getting a little carried away here, I'm sorry, but maybe somebody will watch it, maybe somebody won't. You know, whatever. This actually hung in the window of a record store. And there's a little rail here, little clip, turn the light on. Little clip there where they would hang vinyl records up in the front window for sale. So this was in my room growing up as a kid, and I thought I'd bring it over to the shop when I had a place to put it. Here, I'm just gonna have to imagine I've got a real crappy old HP PC there, and a projector. Sometimes I kill a little time playing Flight Sim. A pair of old Satec throttles that I've had since I was a young kid. I mean, I think 12 or 13. And I'm 27 now. And they still work beautifully. My only heat down here is kerosene. But even in the wintertime, even when it's single digits outside, the shop stays, you know, 40s, 50s. Because this is actually the basement of my house. But yeah, here's Olivia's swing. And this is the real messy part of the shop. I don't even really want to show it, but I will anyway. We don't have trash pickup here, so you've got to take stuff to the dump. This winds up as a staging area. Neat little old metal tanker desk. This was supposed to be a soldering station. It became really just a flat surface for crap to accumulate. But yeah, old Volvo ad there, a couple mold steering wheels. Yeah, I need to clean this up. Unfortunately, my stereo died. I was jamming out to the Clash, and the stereo just died. I don't really know what happened. King Cobra LED, or a neon sign, because every shop needs a neon sign of some sort. Bunch of old license plates. I used to have, hey, my name is Moose on the front of the 79. That was one of my early custom plates. The 1963 plate is off of my mom's first car, and I think it is anyway. I don't know, maybe I'm lying, but I know the one above it is. That's why I need to clean up. Damn it! Hang on a second. Let me readjust it. So yeah, I think that plate is, maybe that's off one of my great grandfather's trucks. I can't remember. I'll ask my dad. He'll remember. The plate above it, though, you'll see it says Monroe. North Carolina used to do vehicle taxes at the local level. And you would pay property taxes to your city. I mean, I guess you still do. But they used to issue these city plates when you paid your property taxes, and you got a new one every year. This is the one that my mom got from the first year that she drove. See, it's dated 1976, not 1352. My mom's not that old. That was on a 1960 Falcon. That was her first car. But yeah, that's the plate off of there. And in North Carolina, you can actually run year of manufacture plates on your car if it's over 30 or 35. I can't remember. I think it's 30. So yeah, the 1979 plate actually goes on the 240 because it was built in 1979. That's kind of a neat thing. I'm a big fan of this stuff for wiring loom. Not many people use it. Kind of sets the bike apart a bit. Car as well. This is asphalt impregnated cloth loom that you'd find on a lot of older vehicles, but it still works pretty well. I hate that convoluted tubing crap that everybody uses. It just looks like garbage. This looks a bit better, and I've used a few other things I like as well. Yeah, Livy's saying hey. Yeah, so that's over here. Dad found this in a creek when he was growing up, the Big Winston tobacco. And these cabinets, these are Cole Steel, C-O-L-E steel cabinets. I got these from a guy in town that had run a motorcycle shop for years. He was closing down, so I put some of my own part stickers on there, but the Bassani and the Flanders stuff, that was all on there when I got it from him. So over here, readjust Olivia again. I recently upgraded to an Arai helmet. Let me turn these lights on here. I've only been riding motorcycles for about a year. Actually, not even a year when you hear this video. I started riding in February of 2017. Kind of cheaped out, got an HJC helmet. Didn't really have any complaints about it. I thought it was fine until I got a nice helmet. I normally would never spend that much on a piece of gear, but there was a place down in Georgia that was running a New Year's special of half off everything they had in stock. And I'm sorry, but if I can get an Arai helmet for half off, and I did check, they didn't jack the prices up. The list price was, you know, $50 higher than Revzilla, because it's a brick and mortar store. But yeah, half off of an Arai Signet X. This helmet is just amazing. It's so light. I've got a lot more peripheral vision than the HJC. It's so much better ventilated. It's just a really, really great helmet. All of my gear, with the exception of my helmet and gloves, all my gear is secondhand. If you go to shopgoodwill.com, they've actually got a motorcycle section, and they get a fair bit of motorcycle gear. So I've actually got a fairly decent all-weather jacket, and behind it I have kind of a cheap built jacket, but it's got an insulated liner that you can take in and out, and it's got some armor in it. So that's what I wear when I ride. Over here, let's get back to the tools, shall we? Because it's been almost 20 minutes now. Back to the tools here finally, since it's been almost 15 minutes, or it's been 20 minutes almost. I've got a couple of torches. I've got a MAP gas and a propane. Those are good because you need heat every once in a while. I do need to go buy a good heat gun, because I had a crappy Harbor Freight one. Never really did the job, and we got a really nice DeWalt one at work. So that's probably a tool that I'll spend a few bucks on. Nice little miter saw there. Wife got that for me as a present. That's helped me do a lot of stuff around the house and some woodworking stuff. Got a little bit of fake moonshine sitting there, but still, moonshine's a very important tool in any shop. Over here, it's kind of important to me. You know, Mom always said growing up, you know, I'm not going to pull the Steve Martin, you know, the jerk thing, where I was born a poor black child, because I wasn't. And if you haven't seen the movie The Jerk, that's where that line comes from. Anyway, I'm not going to say I grew up dirt floor poor, because I didn't. I was very fortunate to have two loving, very hardworking parents. But we were middle class, and I was never hungry, but there was not always a lot of extra money. And that's one of the things that I've carried with me, that I don't buy anything unless I get a deal on it. That helmet, yes, it's expensive, but it's going to last me a long time, and I paid half of what it goes for on retail. The miter saw, my wife got on a sale. The pressure washer over there, the pressure washer is used. Paid $50 for it, but it's a decent pressure washer that's going to last me a long time, and also take care of it. When I store it for the winter, I drain the pump out and everything. I don't just put it away wet. Most of my tools are like that. I haven't paid full price for pretty much anything in that box. This is kind of cool. This is one of my favorite touches about the shop. If you're into, if you've seen a lot of garage stuff, you might remember the 12 gauge garage. He has a similar clock. I used to work for Simplex. Actually, it was Simplex Grinnell, doing fire alarm installations. And Dad worked for Simplex for many, many, many years as a service tech. But Simplex used to do central clocks. And this is an old double-sided central clock out of a school that somebody on Craigslist had and was going to get rid of. I got it, fixed it up, and plugged it in, and it actually keeps decent time without having a central brain. So that's kind of neat. So hang on just a second. I just realized while I was over there, I completely ignored the biggest tool in the shop, and that's this lift. This is it's just a Harbor Freight lift that, again, as I was saying before, I don't buy anything unless I get a deal. I was looking around on Craigslist. People were wanting real money for them. This I actually found over in Tennessee, but the guy had bought it like 2 years ago and just never even took it out of the box, and decided that working on bikes wasn't for him. Put it up on Craigslist, and I think I paid $150 for it. And if you go buy one, without a coupon at Harbor Freight, they're about $400. If you catch them on a sale, I think they're generally $250, $280, somewhere in there. But yeah, $150, and this was the game changer, because the gold wing I built on the floor with the motorcycle jack, and I didn't really know any better, but it was kind of a pain in the ass. Having a lift really makes things easier. This is actually one of the reasons why I don't want to go back to working on cars. I'm so used to being able to put everything up at waist height and not having to lay on the cold concrete and bench press transmissions and diffs and all that in anymore. So yeah, that's the most. All right, 2 more tools and I'm done. I know this has dragged on forever. The vacuum's down here because I gotta take the vacuum cleaner apart and clean it, so I become the vacuum cleaner cleaner. I've got a motorcycle jack here. This is very useful. This is Craftsman jack. Got it for $60 off Craigslist. Again, that's my ethos, is that I don't buy anything unless I get a deal. Barely used, nothing wrong with it. Great for, really at this point, really just great for the GL, because it's got a nice flat. The reason that jack is so useful, if you notice, it's got a big flat work surface on it. It's really good for lifting like transmissions or diffs into cars. Actually use it to help reassemble the rear subframe on the V70 when I had to take it all apart. Any car guy should have one of those. It's way better than the little screw like screw jack transmission things, and it makes a lot of things a lot easier. Also, if you're dragging stuff around the shop that's heavy, you know, you throw it on the big platform and just pull it instead of having to lift it and carry it everywhere. So yeah, I didn't really talk about that, but that's why that jack is so useful. Could use it on the K, but if I use it on the K, then I can't change the oil, and the K has a center stand, so you know, whatever. I store the GL like this because I did take the center stand off to fit the exhaust there, and if it sits on the side stand for a long time, it smokes really bad at startup. So I did just want to say real quick, I know here I'm talking about storing bikes and putting them away for the winter. I do want to say, you know, I do ride my bikes. I don't build them to be showpieces. I think I've said that in another video. The GL, I put about 16,000 miles on it this past year. I kind of built the K specifically for some long trips with Dad that we've got planned. I'm going to take about a week and a half and go up into the New England area, see some, you know, DC, Philly, you know, maybe a little bit farther north if we have time. Check that stuff out. It really kind of bothers me, people that gatekeep, like, oh, if you put your bike up for the winter, you're not a real biker. Screw you, dude. I'm not riding a naked bike when it's 7 degrees in the morning. And it has been. It's been single digits here this past week. So hopefully it'll start warming up around March or so and we can get back on 2 wheels. But for now, yeah, I'll ride around in the wagon. Same thing holds true for people who are car enthusiasts. There are some people that claim, oh, if you don't change your own oil, you're not really a car guy. Screw you, man. It's going to cost you $25 or $30 to buy the stuff to change your oil in the first place. And then you got to put the car up on ramps and get all nasty if you drop something in the oil, and then you got to haul the used oil back and all. No, sometimes you pay $35, $40 and sit in a warm waiting room for 20 minutes while somebody else changes the oil. It doesn't make you any less of a car person. I've got to the point where I'll really only do major jobs now, because I spent years doing everything on my shitty old cars, and I still have shitty old cars. You know, by a lot of people's measure, a 2005 is an old car. Newest one I've ever owned, and I love it. Got a good deal on that too. You know, $3,000. Hey, love it. But yeah, anyway, so don't let anybody, like, if you don't do X, Y, and Z on your bike, you're not a real biker. Oh, if you don't ride 10,000 miles a year, you're not a real biker. No, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's abilities are different. Everybody's desires are different. You know, if you've got a bike, and if you enjoy riding, and if you enjoy meeting people and finding new places on your bike, then you're a biker. You know, it's not dress up. It's not it's what you make of it. And if you're having fun doing it, then you're a true whatever it is that you're doing in my book, and good on you. So yeah, I just prop it up on here for the for longer storage. And finally, I say finally, oh, almost finally, little cheapo temperature gun. This comes in handy more often than you would think. And the very last thing is my wood lathe. And you'll notice that it looks like a drill. Because it is. I bought this to do wood lathe work with, obviously. Did a lot of, actually bought it specifically for shift knobs. Did a bunch of those, sold a few of those. Kind of lost interest in it. Thought about selling this. There's the chuck there for the wood stuff. And I'm super glad I didn't. Because I did get one of these MT2 machine chucks for it. This is awesome for putting a wire wheel in, and then you can have both hands on whatever piece you're trying to clean up and get in there with it. And I've got some larger ones too. Also really nice because you can use the same chuck to hook these polishing pads up in it, and then you can it's like having a bench grinder with a long arbor, but you've got a speed control on it. And this whole head, actually, and as I was saying, this whole head actually turns, and it turns all the way out, but I'll just leave it there because I've only got one hand. Yeah, that turns all the way out to give you a lot more room to work. Great tool. This is a jet. This is like, $600-800 lathe. Again, don't buy anything unless you can get a deal. $200 from a guy over in Waynesville who was getting out of wood turning. And I even got a bunch of tools with it too, so that's awesome. I've gotten a lot of use out of this. Really glad I didn't sell it when I kind of got bored with the turning stuff. So that is it for the tour of the shop. Said I wasn't going to make a 15-minute video. Made like a 25-minute video. Yeah, and Olivia's excited that we're done here. We're actually going to go, here in a minute, we're going to go and pick up a CBR 600 front end GSXR front end to fit on the H2. So we got a trip over the mountain here in a minute. But yeah, said I wasn't going to make a 15-minute video. Made a 20-minute video, or 25, or however long it comes out to be. Hope you enjoyed it. You will notice I don't have a lot of fancy tools. If I was going to buy one more thing at this point, it would be a press. Like a 30-ton freestanding press for doing bushings and all kinds of crap. Bearings. Also need I need a 3-jaw puller. A couple other things that I've kind of neglected to get. But yeah, so I'll probably I'll find a press here in a bit. Finding one is not the problem. It's finding space for it at this point, because as you can see, my shop, I'm not the best at keeping a clean house down here. So I'd have to find a shoehorn room out somewhere to put that in. But yeah, so there it is. I mean, there's definitely some money invested. Yeah, I know. There's definitely some money invested down here. But it's not nearly as much money as could be invested. And like I said, I don't get anything unless I get a deal. Oh, one final word. I kind of hinted at this when we were looking at, and of course you gotta have the motorcycle calendar, and actually it's January 2018, and that's set a few months back. Yeah, I was talking about 12 gauge garage. I love the color that he's got in his shop, so that's why the walls are green down here. That's a lot of people come in here and go, "What the hell did you do? It's so ugly." Well, hey, not your shop. I really like this. I really like the green on the walls. The one thing that I wish I had done, I wish I had epoxy coated the floors when we moved in. I didn't. Money was a lot tighter when we bought this house, and I just really couldn't justify $600 or $800. I was like, "Oh, I'll do it later." Well, then you get everything moved in, and then you don't. That would be my recommendation. If you're building a shop or buying a house or garage, spend the money, get the floors epoxy coated, because I'm sure when we go to sell this place, somebody's really going to complain about all the oil stains and everything. Well, yeah, okay, it sucks, and I'll probably have to spend some time scrubbing, which I wouldn't have to do if I just had epoxy floors put in. But yeah, that's about it. If I run across anything else here in a minute before we head out, I'll let you know. But yeah, just the basics, pretty much anyway. Weekend warrior type deal. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Video's been way too long already. But if you have any questions, definitely let me know, and stay tuned to the rest of the project. She likes looking at herself in the video there. Stay tuned to the rest of the project, and you can see where we go from here. Thanks. Alright, quick little outro here that I almost forgot. I live in Franklin, North Carolina, which is a very small town in the western part of North Carolina, about an hour and a half west of Asheville. Excuse me. Beautiful, beautiful area. Lots of waterfalls. Hundreds of great roads. Oh man, I got the hiccups. About 40 miles from Deals Gap, Tail of the Dragon. If you come down to this area and want to hang out, let me know. The shop is always open. If you've got some issue that needs to be addressed, you're welcome to stop by. I'm not going to charge anything. You know, don't leave a bike here for 3 weeks or anything like that. But if it's just a simple issue or something bugging you, stop by. I like meeting people. Like meeting people that are interested in cars and bikes too. I think all my good friends at this point are gearheads. Also, if you want a tour of some phenomenal back roads, places that aren't the Dragon, let me know. Yeah, I know. The Dragon's fun. Olivia loves it. She likes to go hang out and ride around in the car seat back there. Deals Gap is a phenomenal road. But it's super crowded, especially on the weekends through the season. There are a lot of roads out here that are just as good, arguably some that are better, that the non-locals just don't know, and that's where you can have a lot of fun. But yeah, if you get out this way and want to check out some roads, stop by, say hey, or have a problem, definitely let me know. Would love to meet some of y'all. So hopefully this doesn't blow up, and get 1 million views or whatever, because I'm not hosting everybody at my house every weekend. But I'd like to meet, at least a handful of y'all. People that share the same interests are always fun to chill with. All right, so we're going to go get these forks. But till next time, we'll see you.